Welcome back to AFTV and another bit of breaking news coming your way. We saw James and Robbie last night delivering news about, Kieran Tierney going on loan to Real Sociedad, Balogun looking like he's on his way to Monaco as well. But today, not to do about transfers, we've got some good news. Jesus has risen, and it ain't even Easter.
Reincarnated.
Mikel Arteta has just done his press conference and has mentioned that Jesus, he is ready to go for tomorrow's game against Fulham. I think it's coming with a bit of a shock. And listen, I don't want to do the reporter thing where I do look into his press conferences a lot, and I know Mikel Arteta can be shrewd,
can be quite guarded.
Yeah, and he can sometimes deflect, but this one seemed very, very, very honest.
Unequivocal.
Exactly. Seems very honest. Where he asked him, it might be too early to say that, Jesus will be involved tomorrow.
So he's ready to go.
Mikel Arteta said, nope, ready to go. He said, ready to start. And he said, we'll see, with a smile on his face. Now, I'm taken from that. Listen, I don't expect Jesus to start tomorrow. I'll be completely honest with you. Me and James did the news about him being back in full training. We saw him with the squad yesterday in images. And for me, knowing how football kind of goes, one day in full training means that I wouldn't expect Jesus to be up to speed, knowing what the team's going to be, putting out on the pitch come Saturday. So it takes a bit more time for me to say he's definitely going to be starting. I'm assuming he would have done shape this morning for the game tomorrow. So I don't expect him to start. However, Laurie, I do expect to see an appearance from Gabriel Jesus. I'll be intrigued to know what you think. I'll be intrigued to know what everyone else listening and watching thinks, because some may say it's too soon, but I remember last time when he had the serious knee injury and he was out for a few months, that he came back before we all expected. He actually returned. I mentioned this as well in the training video, that he returned against Fulham. Gabriel Jesus got a thunderous applause at Craven Cottage. I remember him literally, as the board goes up, the crowd cheering like he scored a goal. Funny enough, we're playing Fulham again tomorrow, and it does feel fitting that we see a return to Gabriel Jesus. So I believe he will make an appearance, and it also in time for Man United, which will be the next fixture back at home in a few weeks' time. I think it makes sense to see him get some minutes against Fulham tomorrow, and then we might see him start against Man United. Will that be unfair on Eddie or Trossard? I'll leave that up to you guys, but I feel like we'll see him get some minutes tomorrow. But this is great news. This is the news I want to be hearing. Yes, I want to see players leave this club now for a sum as well, so we can potentially see some more incomings. But the next bit of news is Timber returning. I know it's going to be a long time till we see that, but Jesus returning back to the squad. Also good news, and he could be potentially involved tomorrow against Fulham. Laurie, how big of news is this for you?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, when I heard the news, I was like, wow, that's a good fillip for the game tomorrow.
Yep.
But I must say, though, I'm going to keep it real, yeah? So yesterday, they showed footage of Gabriel Jesus at the training ground, right? And I'm going to say this, right? My first impressions, now this could be an optical illusion, but it looked to me like the belly was sticking out a little bit.
Wait, so you're coming from man's weight? Listen, he's been off.
No, that was just my first initial impression. Like when I saw him, I thought, oh, like he's back. That's great. But then I thought,
wait,
probably
so not
needs
muscle.
To work off a few pounds.
Not muscle. You didn't think he got
muscle,
bigger?
just in the belly area, looked a bit full.
I can't believe.
Like I said, it could be an optical illusion. Now, listen, I'm sure they wouldn't even think of starting him if he was physically out of shape. But I must admit, that was my first impressions. But listen, it's great news that he's even under consideration to be back, isn't it? I mean, Gabriel Jesus is a hell of a player, and he's one of our talismans players, isn't he? Yeah. So, we've got to welcome that news. Got to spare a thought for Eddie, though, man. Eddie's probably thinking, rah, like, you know what I mean? I've had 2 games where I've started, I've done well. He's probably thinking, yeah, get the nod against Fulham.
Yeah, had a press conference recently
goal,
as well. He spoke on them in the media as well and said, I train like I train 100% like a beast, yes, because I train like I play, and he wants to give himself the best opportunity to be, the number 9 for Arsenal as much as possible.
So spare a thought for Eddie. He's probably thinking, oh, damn. You never say so publicly, but I'm pretty sure, listen, these guys are competitors, man.
Well, if we're going off what you said about Jesus maybe looking a bit more plump, then, it might be a bit of time. It might be a bit of time.
What do you mean? Say plump.
That's what you're
I didn't say plump. I didn't mean fat. I just said my first impression was he looked like maybe,
I do remember when Gabriel Jesus came back against Fulham, and just prior to that, before, he did look, you know, not as defined as he did before his injury, and also his you know, he had a bit of outgrown facial hair and hair on his head. So obviously he's returned. He's been off. He's been doing rehab.
Exactly.
And a lot of players' mentality when they're in rehab is, I'm coming back stronger. Forget all the niceties. I'm not going to be out there every week playing for Arsenal on camera. So I'm here to grind and get back to my sharpness. And I feel like that's how he's probably treated this one.
I'll be surprised if he starts though.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that'll be a bit of a.
But I mean,
bit of a shock.
as I said, it's great news to hear that he's even under consideration. So if we have him on the bench for tomorrow, I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Because obviously I wasn't expecting that.
When did you expect him to return?
Well, it's interesting because when he got injured, I remember at the time the club was saying it should only be a few weeks.
Yeah, it was only a clean-up.
And there was some naysayers out there, weren't there? Saying, he'll be out for at least a month. And
I'll be honest, I was kind of on that as well.
Were you one of those?
No, because Arsenal say a lot. Arsenal say a lot. And I've been lucky enough to be in sometimes some press conferences and whatnot, and I've been told a lot, but not all the time has it come true. Of course, there's in high level football things change. I understand that, but they do say a lot, and sometimes you can't take every word they say as truth. So when they said Jesus is out again, clean up surgery. When I heard surgery, I was thinking this is going to be a long time, and obviously going to take a bit of time for him to be back to. You know,
but what I would
football.
say though is he's a young man, and you know you're a young man. You know, they heal quicker. Remember back in the day when I was doing sports, you know what I mean, sometimes you can play through injuries when you're young, sometimes it heals up quickly. That dissipates as you get older, trust me. But anyway, it's great news that, like I said, he's even back under consideration to start tomorrow. Me personally, I would probably still go with Eddie to start.
Okay.
And then obviously we can introduce Gabriel a bit later on. But then again, the manager might decide, no, he goes straight in. Because I mean, when you saw the interview that he gave,
he looked like he was happy.
He did have a little bit of a smile on his face, though.
Happy to tell the press that my man's back.
Because as we were saying, normally Arteta's a bit guarded with the praise, doesn't give much away. So for him to come out and say that, it's interesting.
That's why I was quite taken back, and this is why we're delivering this piece of news to you guys as well. Because I think, you know, Arteta has press conference every week, and sometimes he's very coy. He doesn't really say too much, but I feel like this was he's back.
Yeah,
he's ready.
As I said, he was quite unequivocal. He said, "Yep, he's ready to go. Yep."
Yeah,
he was
ready.
very positive.
And it seems like, you know, Arteta, it's a boost to have Jesus back in the side. I think for the fans, and even the interviewer as well, or the person asking the question said the fans would be very enthralled to hear that. It's good news. I think many of us are excited to see the return of Jesus. And remember, he hasn't played yet. He hasn't started yet since the season started. So it is good news. For me, it's definitely a boost. I'm sure for the other fans as well, it is a boost. But there is a spare of thought sort of notion, because I know a lot of fans will say Eddie Nketiah has proved himself. I know people go back to the Crystal Palace. He missed two chances, but in theory, he got us a penalty that led us to win that game. So you have to spare a thought for Eddie Nketiah.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, though, it's all about the win, isn't it?
It is.
And let's be honest, Gabriel Jesus, Arsenal are a better team with him in the side. But is he back to full fitness?
That is a cool.
I would argue that
I
don't think how he can be, because we know how it goes, bro. I mean, if you're training at that level, these are highly tuned athletes. If you miss even a couple of days, I mean, you're a regular gym guy, right? If you don't go for 2 or 3 days and then you go back, a lot of the time it's
reversibility,
hard to, he's been out for a few weeks. You know, it's been ticking over, but it's not the same as playing in a game. So
if Eddie scores, sorry, I'm just going to do a scenario just quickly before we wrap up. If Eddie scores tomorrow, we win the game comfortably against Man United, do you start Eddie again? Or do you give...
I would, personally.
Wow.
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, listen, it depends on if Gabriel comes on tomorrow. Imagine if he scores. You know what I mean? And imagine if he plays well. But I just like to look at it in terms of, you got a guy that's up and running. He's up to speed. He's playing well. You know what I mean? Because, okay, Eddie, yes, those 2 chances, he didn't take them. You could argue that he's not clinical enough. But I was at that game. I was stood next to you, and we both saw Eddie had a very good game.
Yeah, he did.
He did a lot of stuff off the ball. He occupied the defenders. And with those chances, the first one, he was slightly unlucky. The second one, I think he took the wrong option when he could have placed it rather than choosing to try and chip the keeper. But listen, man, he's you know what they say? Possession is 9/10 of the law. And he's the man in possession of the shirt at the moment.
We'll have to see.
And he's looking good.
Right, well, that is it for the breaking news. And just to give you guys a reminder, myself and Laura will be back at 5 p.m. today on a Fan Zone Live, which means you can have your say, come speak to us. There's plenty of news that has been going on at Arsenal Football Club. We're going to be discussing Kieran Tierney. Was it right for Arsenal to let him go? So make sure you come and join us at 5 p.m. Fan Zone. You can join us on screen live. And
I would imagine a lot of people will want to have this say.
100%. It'll be a big debate. And like I said, AFTV, stay tuned in to everything coming your way when it comes to breaking news. We'll be covering it straight away. Myself, Laurie, James, Turkish, or Robbie, keep an eye out on the channel. But that is the breaking news. Gabriel Jesus is ready to go for tomorrow's game. You let me know in the comments below. Do you think he should start or not? You let me know down below, like the video, and we'll see you again come 5 p.m.